welcome back to part 4 of the interviews. Here we have a special guest. Can you introduce yourself for me, please?
Hello, I am Colt13 or William, and I am an avid Ting Lu enjoyer.
Oh, brother. Okay. You know what? That's okay. As a reporter, I try to stay non-biased.
hmm
It's a hard
Yeah,
thing to do, but I try. I really try. You know what?
yeah,
And let you know what? Since we're on the topic, of Ting Lu,
yes.
you've been receiving a lot of hate from your from some of the other participants in this Pokemon League with you
hmm
using Ting Lu so much. Do you have any responses to that at all?
Um, all I have to say is if they can't deal with Ting Lu, it's a skill issue. But also, most of them have managed to deal with Ting Lu, so I'm probably the skill issue.
You know what? I think it's just because there is so many people that hate Ting Lu that just make, you know, plans and to counteract the Ting Lu. So I don't think it's your fault. I think it's just the community hating on
Of
one Pokemon,
course,
you know?
of course, I'm not the problem. It's everyone else that's
Exactly.
causing the problem. Got it. Yep.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's how I like to think.
Yeah, anyways, let's talk about problems here, Um have you faced any problems just kind of like building your team? Actually, why don't you go through like the process of you drafting your Pokemon? Was there anything specific that you were kind of looking into at all while drafting your Pokemon? Just talk me through that.
Yeah. I'm just gonna pull up the draft lists just so I can see what order I drafted stuff in. So I can just go through my thought process. I did actually end up starting. How I originally wanted to do it was I originally made myself a little. I don't know what you'd call it, just like a list of Pokemon that I wanted to get in. Like from most want to least want,
Yeah,
and then I ended up
like a
not
wish list.
following it at all.
Oh,
um, I let's see if I can pull that up. I don't mind sharing any of that stuff.
yeah, because it's you've already drafted your Pokemon.
Yeah. Let's see if I can find it.
So you spent quite a
Uh
bit of time, like, at the beginning before the draft, just kind of going through, and, like, figuring out what Pokemon you really want, and then when the draft happened, it sounded like things fell apart really quick. Is that true, or
not really that things fell apart really quick. It's more that I am just way too impulsive. And I think that kind of showed during a couple of the battles where I just I kind of noticed I had a habit of just impulsively terrestrializing my Pokemon when I really shouldn't, hoping for like the best possible outcome, even though it wasn't the most likely outcome at the time. Um, but let's see. Yeah, according to my tier list, I had Goldango as my original number one that I wanted, and the first Pokemon that I ended up picking, Ting Lu, I actually had as my 12th most wanted Pokemon. But then as I saw people drafting like Goldango and like Iron Valiant and King Gambit and Iron Hands, I was just like, oh, Ting Lu might actually be a good matchup against these people. So I just kind of snap drafted then, and then I had Cerulege as number 6 for me as well. Um, and then going down the list, Wo Qian I actually had as my 6th UU pick, and then Gallade as 11th. What I originally wanted to do was I kind of experimented with the idea of making a Sun team, so I was hoping to get like Cerulege and a couple other people. Not many people know it, but Gallade gets Sunny Day, which I found really funny, and I kind of wanted to build around that.
yeah,
But
is
then I
funny.
never did. So I actually initially drafted Cerulege and Salazzle, both thinking that I could potentially make like a Sunny Day team, but that never happened. I think I'm happy with who I picked. I just wish I had performed better during the battles.
Yeah, what really comes down to it, you can draft really well, and, in all honesty, you drafted a really decent, like, starting, like, OU and, UU tiers. But talk to me about like battling. Have you had experience battling in Pokemon before, or
Honestly, no, not really. Like I've never gotten before this. I've never done. Pokemon Showdown or anything. I actually had to learn how to use Pokemon Showdown because I've never used it before the league. The most that I've done is just more casual online battling. Mostly on like Sun and Moon is when I played the most, but I even then I would just usually just run through the battle tower there, and that's kind of the most or closest that I have to competitive.
Yeah, that but, the battle tower is a great way to start because it builds your team for you, and then, like, you can go
Uh,
from there, and it's just focusing on battling, so
I didn't use any of the rental teams.
Oh,
I
really?
made my own teams, but yeah,
Okay, so there
and
sounds like there has been a little bit of experience, though, just kind of building.
a little bit, and then I watched some YouTubers, but like I never really actually did it myself, and it's a
Yeah,
lot different. Because when you're battling, it just seems like that there's so many more possibilities.
yeah,
That's
it
kind of weird.
definitely, there's a lot of, like, psychological, things that go into it, just like if they're gonna terrestrialize, into a different typing, you have to plan for that, or, if they're gonna set up, so there's just a lot of things that go into it, and
Yeah.
it's hard to plan for that, so it's definitely reactive versus proactive planning, um
Mhm.
So let's kind of talking about planning here. You've been really consistent using I mean obviously Tinglu and Cerulege, um, Gallade, but Salazzle is actually one of the more interesting ones that you've brought consistently. Can you talk about why you've been bringing Salazzle more?
Yeah, I am going to be honest. In my unbiased opinion, I honestly think that Salazzle might have been the best pick in the whole draft. I think especially in the limited format that we have, uh, Salazzle just does a lot. So yeah, yeah, so I think Salazzle is just super fast, has a lot of special attack. I haven't used it a whole lot for Terra Blast, but that's always been something at the back of my mind that I could use it for. Just like it already has a bunch of special attack, I can just slap some Terra type on it and then just Terra Blast away. I think that it being a poison type with toxic, or sorry, it having the ability corrosion with toxic really makes it good to out certain Pokemon. And even though I wasn't intentionally going for like a poison stall ish strategy, that is an option that I can definitely pivot into with Salazzle. So I think Salazzle just kind of has a lot of creative freedom that you can do with it and a lot of options within my team. And I think that they're just kind of hard to out if you don't have anything for it.
Oh, absolutely, especially with like toxic spikes that
Hmm.
you used and set up against me in one. Which props to you by the way. But
Yeah.
speaking of matchups, you kind of had a stacked I'll be honest, this is kind of a stacked league. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
all of
everyone is super scary.
yeah, everybody like and, but, you started out with Michael, and Michael's, like, a hard one to start off with, and then Alex right after, he's
Mhm.
pretty good too, and then after you won against me, you had Eric and Ben back to back, and, they're pretty avid Pokemon players.
Yeah, I'm still a little frustrated. I felt like I could have won against both Eric and Ben if I had played a little bit better. Ben
Uh
just sort of crushed me, but I could have had more time to prepare, but I just didn't, which kind of sucks. And then Eric came down to the wire, where I just basically had to hope that he clicked future sight, and then I would have to rely on a crit, but it didn't end up happening, which is very sad.
yeah, it's
Uh,
really it's really hard to, um, play Pokemon League because, you have to really prepare against the opponent you're playing against, and if you don't plan accordingly, that it can be really tough to play that week.
mhm,
Um,
yeah,
so talk to me, because you have 3 more opponents, you have 1 bye, um,
yep,
but you have Tristan, then Kyle, then Jake. Um, Obviously pretty scary ending. I mean, Tristan has been very improving a lot, so he could be really scary to face off against next. And then you have Kyle and Jake coming up. So, any plans? Like anything, maybe trades you're gonna initiate at all, or just kind of talk me through that.
I think it's a little late for trades for Tristan's battle. But I was actually considering some Pokemon. Uh,
And again,
Sadly,
yeah, you don't have to tell me, but you can.
yeah, I'll just say I'm a little sad because one of the Pokemon that I was considering picking up actually did get boosted up a tier. And now I'm probably not going to get them, but whatever.
Yeah, that does
Uh,
suck when it's especially in League, Pokemon League. If a Pokemon goes up or down, it can kind of like ruin your whole team, or like how you
yeah.
trade.
But at the moment, I have a couple ideas. Honestly, I have a couple ideas against Tristan, but I'm kind of scared since he's had a full bye week to plan for me, which is a little scary if I'm being honest. But I already have a couple ideas in mind. I've already looked over his team, and I think I have an idea of what I want to do. But I think I definitely need to put in more time before that, and then I don't really have a plan for the last two battles yet, so I think that's probably what I'm gonna use my bye week for.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so best of luck to you, William. It sounds like you have kind of a decent plan of going into Tristan, then Kyle, then Jake. So I
Mhm.
wish you all the luck. Do you
Thank you,
have
thank you.
anything you want to say? Any call outs to either Kyle or Jake or Tristan?
Hey Ben, I just want you to know, Ting is the best fucking Pokemon of all time.
You know what? I can agree to that. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Uh
Yeah, of course.
this is Lounge Postings signing off.